Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. And this time we're going to talk about layers and how to make layers, what are layers for, and how you can use them. So let us get into this video. Welcome back guys. Now first question, what are exactly layers? For someone that is new in AutoCAD, it is very hard to understand what are layers and what are they used for. So to explain it as simple as possible, layers are actually properties that you can assign to different shapes and forms in AutoCAD. And when you assign a property to a shape or form or a line, then you can easily decide if you want it to be visible or invisible, if you want it to be able to print or don't want to be able to print. And you can also choose a color for it, a thickness, a line type, and etc. So that is exactly layers is actually a property that you can assign to your forms in your drawing. So here I have an example of a small apartment, and this apartment is, as you can see, it has many colors. Each color is a different layer. You can also have different layer names and still have the same color. So here I made a list of all the layers that are in this drawing. As you can see, interior walls, exterior walls, openings, beams, grid lines, loose furnitures, fixed furnitures, dimensions, text, detail, hatch, construction line, border, title block, viewport, electrical, plumbing, foundation, floor plan, and roof. Why I made this list is because I want to know what layers do I need. This is your basic layers. You can make more if you like, if you're going to use other stuff that I didn't mention here. But this is actually handy to have preset also in your drawing. So when you're drawing like this small apartment, that you already have those layers already in your drawing in your template. So as you can see here, I made in a table the colors that I use for the layer names, which line type, the line width, if it can be printed, yes or not, and if it is locked, yes or no. Lock means that you cannot move it. So when it's locked, you cannot move it from its position. Here you can see this one is locked. Look, you have a little lock there next to my cursor. This means it won't move. So even if I select everything and I said I wanted to move it, everything else will move except for my blue line because that is locked. This one has to also be locked. So let's just lock that one right now. And you can lock your layers by just selecting this little icon of a lock. And that is actually how you lock your layer. So I have preset these layers because I can then draw different things in my drawing and don't have to make it every time. So that is why it is important to make this in your template so that when you open a new drawing, you already have these things and you don't have to every time make new layers. Of course, this is just an example for when you are drawing like this small example of a small apartment. But let's say you are a mechanical engineer and those kind of stuff, then you would have other names, layer names that you will use, like screws and wires, the different types of wires. Maybe you would be more specific there instead of interior walls and exterior walls and openings. But for this example, for this tutorial, I will show you these layers for when you are drawing buildings. So how does layers work? As you can see here, we have our layer, these two lines, these yellow lines, and they're under my foundation layer Here you can see under the Home tab in the ribbon under Layers, you can see that these layers, as you selected it, it has the layer or the property foundation. Now, if I select this, these have the layer floor plan because this is my floor plan of my apartment. And why I have made this into a block is because then I can easily turn off also everything that is in my floor plan, including my loose furnitures and my fixed furnitures. So that is why I decided to integrate it into my block. How do you do this? First of all, you have to make a block. And how do you make a block? By selecting BL. Select what you want to be part of your block. Like I want to select my all my foundation layers. Then you press BL block. Then you choose the name for the block that you want to name it. Foundation. So now you want to pick your insert point. I want my insert point to be this here. And here, then you can just press OK and it will be converted into a block. I would not do this right now because I don't need it to be a block. I'm fine with it being loose lines. But this one, I wanted it to be into a block because I will be able to take off this also. Let's say you already draw this like this and you draw this over it and you want to also include it into this block. Then you right click and you press edit block in place, not block editor, but in place. Then it will ask you, what do you want to edit? I want to edit my floor plan block. And I press OK. And now I can select additional geometry to add to my block. And I will select all my, doesn't matter if you select this again, just nothing will happen. So I will select all my electrical symbols to add it to my floor plan block. Let's see, I have this one here and this one here and this one here and this one also. Then you go to this tab that appear. It is called block editor reference, edit reference, and then you click on add to working set. So it would add all the things you have selected to your current working set, which is my floor plan block. Now you click again on edit reference and then you say save. Click on save changes. Click on OK. And now it's part of my block. The reason why I did this is because when I want to freeze or make my floor plan invisible so I can see my foundation plan, I can easily just freeze my whole floor plan layer. So here you can see that now the only thing that is visible is my foundation. And this is my foundation that is only visible to be able to see it, so that you can be able to see it. Now let's say I want it back on. All you gotta do is unfreeze it. And there is my floor plan again. So that is actually the function of layers. Now let's say I don't want to see my electrical stuff. I just want to see my loose furnitures and everything, only except my electrical stuff. First of all, before you can freeze anything, it cannot be the current layer. So I would have to select a different layer, doesn't matter which one, as long as it's not the one that you need to freeze at a moment, and then you can freeze it. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna freeze my electrical. As you can see, my electrical is gone, not visible actually. It is not gone, but it's just not visible. So that is why it is very handy to work with layers, because when you find that your drawing is getting too full, that you cannot work with it, like I find this very annoying if I would now have to draw other stuff in my drawing that the foundation is visible. So let's say I don't want to see my foundation, so I would also freeze my foundation. And here you can see I can only see what is above ground, which are my walls. And that is why layers are very important. So now let's just put back on everything, which is my electrical and also my foundation. So everything is now on. And let's say I don't want to freeze it, but I just want to make it invisible temporarily. This works the same way, this light bulb on and off. But let's say I want to take off my floor plan, as we saw, to see just my foundation plan. So this one. This works good. So it takes off my foundation, my floor plan, and also everything that is in that block within that floor plan block. Because my block is under the layer of floor plan, it will take off everything, including everything, all the other layers that in my block also. Let's just put it back on. Now let's say I want to take it off. Now this works differently. As you can see, even though I take it off, I still can see everything else. Why isn't my floor plan taking away everything that's in that block? That is because when you're turn off the lights, let's say turn off the lights, literally, the light bulb, that does not freeze all the layers that are in my block. Only freeze makes all the layers that are in my block invisible. On and off does not do that. So even though I choose on and off, and you can see here my floor plan layer is coming off, but these layers that are in my block are not coming off. Why? Because I chose on off and not freeze. So that is the difference between freeze and on and off. So I mostly use just freeze, but sometime now and again I would still use on and off. Let's say you see like my foundation layer is on right now. I can, for my foundation layer, since it's not in a block, meaning there are loose lines, is not one block, I can also use on off for foundation because it is not in a block. So that is the difference between on and off and freeze. Now for this tutorial, we're going to make these layers. Of course, as I said at the beginning, you can make your own names depending on your work that you need to do. Rather it's building, rather it's furniture drawing, rather it's engineering. It depends on what your principle, whatever you're working with. So in my example, I am focusing more on building. So buildings, building engineering. So in this example, we have these names right here. So let us get into making the layers. And of course, if you're interested also in drawing buildings, these work for me. I don't know if it works for you, but layers are very personal because it's what you're gonna work with. So let's just get into making our layers. Now here we have our drawing that we made in the last video where we made our annotate stuff, our text layers, dimension layers, our textiles, dimension styles, leaders, and tables. So now in this same drawing, I don't know if you have it. If not, I would suggest you look at my last two videos when it comes to the basics of styles. And in this one, we're going to focus now on layers, which is under your home tab under layers. So first of all, AutoCAD begins with two layers, zero layer and depth points. Depth points don't are not printable. This layer is just a layer if you want to just have a geometry in your drawing but you don't want it to be printed. And the zero layer is just your normal layer. It inherits also colors depending on your the layer that you put your block into. Like if we go back to the example once more and we open this block, let's just say this block is under the layer of loose, meaning loose furniture. And I open this block. As you can see, it is not red. It's because it's under the layer of zero. Why it's under the layer of zero? You wanted to actually be under the layer of zero because the layer of zero is the default layer of AutoCAD. It does not have a color. So since it's in the layer of zero, let's exit this block and I insert that bed where this one. Oh, it's very small. Why is it so small? Let's just say 1 on 100, 1 on 100. I'm scaling this so you guys can see it. It is super small. Was it 1 on 1000 then? Yeah. So now I have set this block under the layer of beam. It is not a beam, but it's under the layer of beam. And since, as I showed you guys, the lines and the geometry has the layer inside of my block on zero, outside of my block, all the lines that are zero will inherit the color that the layer is set under. So since it's now set under the layer of beam, all the lines will get the color blue or cyan. Now let's just go back into the layer. Now let's say I want to make this part or my pillows so you can see it better. I want to not have my pillow under the layer zero. I want to have it under the layer loose. Where is loose? As you can see, it turns red because it is under the layer loose. Loose has the color red. So now if I exit this and save the block, so you can tell the difference. So even though my total block of the bed is under the layer beam 1, because my pillar are inside my block, my pillar has a different layer. It won't inherit the color of my block layer because it has a different layer on the inside. So that is why it is important inside your block to always work with the layer 0, or else it won't inherit, the block itself on the outside won't inherit the color of the layer on the outside, but it will just have the layer color on the inside and also the layer name and everything. So if I decided now to freeze my layer beam, not freeze it but take it off, Let's go to home and let's take it off. See, even though my bed is under the layer beam, still under the layer beam, it only took off everything that inherit the layer beam. Since my pillows are under the layer of loose, it does not go away because I have not taken off the layer loose. Now if I go back here and put back on beam and let's say freeze beam, I cannot freeze the current layer, of course not. Select a different layer and now freeze the layer beam. As I showed you in the previous example, everything disappear because now I have frozen it and I'm not taking it off, which is different. So that is the importance of the layer 0. Now let's go back into our setup drawing. So first of all, let us start making your layers. Your layer will be just as your properties. It would show up like a different in a separate window when you press it. So now I have opened my layer properties. Let's just dock it so it won't disappear anymore. And as I said, you have only 2 layers for now. So let us make a new layer. You have to click on new layer and it will ask you for the name of your layer. So let us start off by putting a dash and a space, and let's start with loose furnitures. Let's see. Let's copy this so to make this easier. Copy with base point. Copy with base point means you just select a base point and it will be there. So when you paste it, it will be on that same base point. So now if I go to, let's go back to our loose furnitures. And here you can see the layer name already is loose furnitures. And loose furnitures has the color 1. So let us choose the color 1. It has a line type continuous. It is already on continuous. The line width would be 0.18. 0.18. It won't be transparent and it will be printable. As you can see, plot is set to yes and it won't be locked. Let's just make this bigger, even bigger. Oh, it won't be locked. So that is my furniture layer. Now these came on because I've inserted this right here. So let's just ignore these 2 for now. Now let's make the other layer. Why I selected a dash in front is because I want all my layers to be close to each other. Like it is handy to have our unique character at the beginning of your layer so that when you are drawing and you import blocks that are from you downloaded on the internet or you use from a different drawing, then you won't have all the layers all mixed up on each other. So the ones that you mostly use, you want them always to be on the top. So you either start with a, a character that always sort to the top, like this one, or you can just put 0 and then it will also be to the top. So it's just a trick that a lot of people use nowadays so that you have your layers all together instead of having them all sorted alphabetically, and then you will have to be searching through a bunch of layers, because when you import blocks off of the internet, then you have sometimes a lot of layers depending on what you're downloading, and then it will be very annoying to have to go through that long list of layers to be able to find what you the layer that you're looking for. So that's also a trick that you can use. Now let us make our second layer, and the second one is called interior. So now I will start from the beginning. Walls, and interior walls has the color 3. It is continuous, and the width will be 0.25. It is plottable and it is not locked. Let us go to our other layer, exterior walls. This one would be the color 4, also continuous. The width would be 0.35, and the rest would stay the same. Let's go again. Let's now go to openings. Openings, and this will be the color 2. Continuous, it won't have 0.35, but it will be 0. Oh yeah, it will be 0.35, which is good, and the rest will be good. Let's go to beams, and beams would have the color 4. It will be hidden, as you can see here, hidden, so it won't be continuous. Now the first time you open this dialog here, it will be empty. Only continuous would be loaded. So you just click on load, and then you would go to hidden. This one is the one I want. So then you would load it. From here you can also load more. Since we see we have alter center 2 times, let's just load that one time so we won't have to go back in here. So this one, center 2 times. And then here we will select then hidden for this layer, and this will be hidden. Hidden is actually just dotted lines or the dash lines to the bottom. Then we have grids, lines, and the grid line will have the color 8. The thickness will be 13, 0.13. It won't be hidden, but it will be centered 2 times. Now that is great. Now we will have the loose furniture we did already. That's this one right here. Then we have our fixed furnitures. And our fixed furnitures will have the color 1, which is red. It will be continuous. It will have the thickness of 18, and the rest will be good. I'll make our other layer, dimensions layer. It will have the color 1 also, continuous, and the width of 13. Let us continue. You have our text layer. It will have the color 7, and it will be also continuous, The thickness will be 18 and the rest will stay the same. Now here we have the layer detail. When you're drawing smaller stuff, details of certain areas in your building, this will have the color number 2, will be continuous, and it will have the thickness of 18. Then we have our hatch or our fillings. This will have the color 9, continuous, 13, and the rest is good. Construction line. This will have the color 23. Why 23 is because I just like 23. You can choose a different color if you like, but I want it to be a totally different color. Why? Because construction line is actually just to help you guidelines in your drawing. It won't be printable. As you can see, construction line won't be printable, so we will take off the print option, and it will have, well, barely have any thickness, which will be 0.05. Now let's just start with hatch. As select hatch to start a new one, because this one has a different properties. So let's just start with a hatch. Well, as your next, when you press on new, it will have these same properties as construction line. So to make life easier, let's just start with hatch. Now we have border, and the border will have the color 5, continuous, and it will have the thickness of 0.5. So very thick. Your border will always be very thick. Now let's have the layer title block. It will have the color 6. Continuous, 0.5 is too thick for your title block. It would have to be 18 because your text will also inherit this layer, and you don't want your text to be too thick, or else it won't be, you won't read it correctly. It'll just be one smudge. Viewports. Also, viewport is important to make because the viewport has to also have its separate layer. Why? Because your viewport won't also be printable. Why your viewport won't be printable? Because you don't want to see a bunch of lines in your drawing. Thickness, it really doesn't matter. It won't print anyways, so let's just choose 0.05. And what else? Your viewport also will be, it won't be locked. But your border, I forgot this one though, it will be locked. Your border will be locked, and your title block will be locked, because in your layout paper space, you don't want to have to by mistake move your border or your title block. You want each and every drawing to have the same beginning point. So when you have a lot of drawing, it won't be different margins or stuff. It will always be located in the same position. So borders and title block will be good if you would lock these two layers. That means it won't be, you cannot move it by mistake or anything. Let us now make an electrical layer. This one will be the color 8. It won't be too thick, so let's say 13 is good. And also the plumbing layer. also the color 8, and it won't be too thick. You don't want these layers to be too thick in your drawing. The next layer will be foundation. And your foundation will be the color, oops, foundation will be the color 2, so yellow. The thickness will be 13, and the rest is good. Press a new one again. Now we have floor plan. It also be yellow, continuous, and also 13. And of course, last but not least, we have our roof. Our roof will be color 6, will be continuous, and 13, and the rest will be good. So that is all my layers that we are going to do today. So if I go and close off these layers, now I can delete this, delete. You can also purge the ones that are in your drawing that you don't want. Like here you can see all the layers that you can purge. Purge means that you can erase them from your drawing. This one I don't want, so I will purge this one layer. See, are you about to purge layer 1 dash construction? What do you want to do? I want to purge this layer. So now if I go back into my layer properties, as you can see, it has been purged out of this drawing. I do have this one left. I don't know where it's at. Let's see one more time. Purge. I think the first time it had to purge, and now the second time. Layer. No, I can't purge it. Why? It's because it is in use. So when something is in use, I cannot purge it. What you can do is then right click and click on quick select, go on layer, entire drawing, multiple objects, everything, meaning your properties will be a layer, it will be equal to, and I want to select text 1 dash text. Click OK, and no item has been selected. That's strange because I cannot purge that layer. So that's kind of strange. I cannot purge it, but no item is selected under that layer. So why can I just purge the layer? Let's see. No, it will have to be under this one. Oh, well, that's strange. But that is how you can make your layers, and you can also purge your layers, the ones that you're not using. Very strange, I could not purge the one I just tried to purge. So now we have set up our text styles, dimension style, leader style, table styles, and also our layers. Now here in my example, even though my drawing has all of these colors and all of these layers in my drawing, and here you can see many stuff, but if I go to my floor plan paper space, that's this one right here, why it is gray, these layers, is because it is locked. As you can see, it's locked. That's why I was explaining you guys about the locking your title block layer and your border layer. Now this is my viewport layer, one viewport. That is the layer that is not printable. So if I go on preview, output, and then preview, here you can see, even though my viewport is there, it won't be printed. Why? Because I have set the properties to that layer that it won't be printed. And what you can see also here, guys, is that my foundation layer is not visible. Neither is my electrical layer visible. Where are my sockets and where are my the lines to my ceiling lights? Where are my ceiling lights? That is because I have frozen my layers specifically in this window. So here in your model space, you can see that here all my layers are on. So if I go on my home tab, here you can see that all my layers are on. My border layers are on, construction detail, every single layer is on. Here's also, you can see that it is on, all of them, except my electrical, sorry. Let's just put that on. It is on. Everything is on. So my electrical is on, my loose furniture is on, my fixed furniture are on, my walls, my foundation, my dimensions is on, everything is on. But now if I go to my paper space floor plan, I can see you can see that my electrical has disappeared, my foundation has disappeared. Why is that? Is because it has been frozen in this specific viewport. How you can do that? You have to click inside your viewport, double click inside your viewport, not outside. Outside mean it is deactivated. When you click, double click inside your viewport, it will be activated. Do not zoom. This will happen. So don't zoom. Also, when you click inside your viewport, do not click like this, zoom in all the way and then do this, because then you won't be able to exit your viewport. You will just get sometimes frustrated. What you can do if this happen is then lock your viewports with this lock right here. Selected viewport are locked, and then you can zoom out again. So that is how you can exit the viewport even though you have zoomed in too much. When it's locked, then you cannot zoom in and out of your viewport. You cannot choose a different scale or anything. So let's unlock it again, because you want to be able to select a scale. I will select 1 on 100, and then I will go in with my pen, hand here, and I will position it how I want it to be positioned. So here you have your, once more, double click inside your viewport, do not zoom, or you can lock it just in case you do zoom. And then here in your layers, my layer in this column, freeze or thaw in current layer, a viewport. So here we can freeze the layers that we don't want to see in this viewport. Only in this viewport. It won't freeze it in my drawing. It won't freeze all the other layers in my drawing. It would just freeze it in this viewport. So here you can see I frozen my electrical. I have frozen my foundation. So that is why you cannot see it. Also here in my foundation paper space, the same thing I did for my floor plan paper space. Here, instead, I have frozen my floor plan. I have frozen my electrical. You can also, if you decided not to make a floor plan block, you could also decide, well, instead of freezing my whole floor plan, I just want to freeze my fixed or my loose furnitures. Where are my loose furnitures? This one. So you can see it disappears. So but to make life easier, I've decided to make a floor plan block so that I can freeze the whole floor plan, including everything in it, by just clicking one layer. To exit or deactivate your viewport, you just double click outside of your viewport. So here you can see that now only my foundation is visible because all the other layers are off in this viewport. So I've not taken it off in my whole drawing, just for this viewport. Now you have your electrical plan, the last one. And here we have frozen. Let's just see what we have frozen. We have not frozen our floor plan because then my electrical will also disappear. But we have just frozen my foundation, my loose furnitures. That's the only two I have frozen. So here you can see that this is important for the electrician. You just need to see where the sockets will be, where your lamps would be located, where your switches will be in the floor plan without the loose furnitures. So even though we have one drawing which is stacked up on each other, we can make multiple drawings for every work, or every how you say that, every discipline. So here we have the discipline for the customer to see how their apartment will look. Then here we have the foundation plan for the construction worker who's going to make the foundation. Here we have the electrical plan for the electrician who has to build in his sockets where it have to be located. And also, if you like, you can also decide to dimension these stuff. But let's just say, imagine you have to dimension all of these stuff and show the customer dimensions that are meant for the electrician only. It won't be that nice. So what you can do is, instead of putting my dimensions in my layer dimensions, you can decide to just put your dimensions in the layer electrical. So here I've set my dimension, I have selected electrical layer. So this one now is active. I can now dimension or measure or dimension my sockets. So if I go here in my paper space electrical plan, here you can see that the dimensions for my socket is visible for my electrician, where I want my socket or my switch to be located. Sorry, my switch, not my socket. Or my, let's just double click here and then lock it so it won't move. My ceiling light, as you can see, my ceiling light is dimensioned. And now if I go into my model space, you can see that the dimension is here, is just not under the layer dimension, but it is under the layer electrical. So in my floor plan drawing, I won't see that dimension visible because it is in the layer electrical, and the electrical stuff is here. In this floor plan, it is off. In my foundation, it won't be visible either, but in my electrical plan, it will be visible because I have decided to leave this layer on in this drawing. So that is a small or short, I hope it was short, tutorial of layers. I hope you could understand it very clearly. It helps a lot if you discipline yourself to work with layers, because then you won't have to, let's say, make this drawing 50 times for 50 different disciplines. So I have one drawing, it's just that I add on stuff to it so that I can decide what I want to be visible in every drawing depending on what do I want the person to see. So loose furnitures, for example, is not important for an electrician because he does not have to see where the bed is going. He does not have to see where is my cabinets. He just wants to see where fixed furniture is very important for him, but not your loose furnitures. Everybody has different sizes loose furniture, so that is not important for an electrician to know. That is why you want to work with layers so that you can turn off those layers and have and not have to draw a separate drawing or separate drawings for every single discipline you want to make a drawing for. And one more thing, guys, before I leave, the reason why my drawing were black and white in my paper space, that was because I have my plot styles already set up. Like if you go to output and then press preview, I think your own would be in color and my own is black and white. But since you don't have any kind of plot styles, I would figure you don't have any plot styles, you can just select a plot and then select monochrome that already is built in AutoCAD standard. So if you select this one and then of course press apply and press preview, then your drawing will also be black and white. And these plot style we will discuss on a later video. So I hope you guys found this tutorial informative, and I hope you can use layers now. I hope you understand how to use the layers, and I will see you in my next video. And bye for now, guys.